Taylor, my man, welcome to the fight. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. So we're here to talk about getting you into a situation where you can be an absentee owner.
Yes, sir.
um, so before we get into it, I guess tell us where you at, what do you do, and all that stuff.
So I'm located in Casa Grande, Arizona, or Casa Grande, Arizona. Um, I'm a GC. We do commercial and residential work. I also have a drywall division because that's where I came from
That
in the
is.
trades.
That's your infancy in the trades. Yep.
Yes, but yeah, that's where we are. What we do. We've got several commercial projects going as well as some residential remodels and stuff going right
Hmm.
now. Um, yeah. What else do you want to know?
Yeah. So last year, what was your revenue again?
It's 1.3.
1.3 in 2024. And looks like um, you're on track right now based on your P&L you sent me to do about 1.8 based on what you've sold this year so far. You're almost at a half a million already in early April,
Yep.
basically the first quarter, right?
Yep. As,
Um,
so sales wise, we've already sold 1.5. And one that I'm bidding on. If we get this, we're gonna hit about 2.7 if I get that one. So
got it. And what's I know on your P&L it's showing like 450 in revenue and 350 in gross profit, but I'm assuming some things didn't get paid for when this was.
I think, yeah, once I looked at it, I don't think my bookkeeper is updated when I had sent this. So,
Yeah. So what's your average GP right now?
we're about between 40 to 45, somewhere
Okay,
in there.
cool. Got it. And what was net last year, percentage wise? Do you remember?
We actually had a loss last year. I had some loans and things that we had taken out to kind of keep things floating, so it showed us negative.
Yeah, and sometimes that happens. I know there's always more of this story than just what's on the piece of paper because I know prior to 24, you know, those couple of years earlier, you're up over 2 million and stuff and had some things happen that you um had to deal with that were kind of out of the ordinary. And we all have those things. I mean, shit, when we were waiting to hit record on this thing, you heard me on speakerphone talking to my project manager about this douchebag of a client that we're working for right now painting his house.
Yep.
It's just going to cost us a little more because my whole thing is like, I mean, again, for those listening, the guy opted not to do some other work that needed to be done, and now he's bitching about things. And so I just told my project manager, I said, just do the fucking other work,
Yeah.
and because the energy and the focus and how long it's going to take to actually do it, it'll probably take me 3 days to fucking deal with him being an asshole.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just get through things, and so I get it, man. I've been there,
Yep.
and it sucks. Um, but well, this year so far, I know there's still some cost of goods that got to be putting in there, but right now you're showing a net profit of about 40% on paper, so that's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
uh,
Yep.
so let's see if I go to your 450 times a 45% minus your overhead divided by that. Okay, so if we're on track with your average of around 45% GP when everything gets inputted, you're running about a 6% net profit this year. So when everything gets put in there, so got a little work to do, but that's why we're
Yeah.
here. So
Yeah.
um, so what's I mean, I have your notes and stuff that you submitted, but just for those listening, like what's what do you feel the number one domino needs to be that you can push over that'll take care of a lot of other bullshit in the business right now?
I think number one is me not being the bottleneck. Um,
Hmm.
I think well, last year when we had everything happen, I ended up laying off a ton of people. So a lot of office staff, a lot of, um, project manager, estimator, laid off everybody. And I ended up being the guy, excuse me. And, yeah, so I kind of got in that mode of I handle everything, and I've since then I've brought back my project manager, but I think I need to get out of the estimator slash sales role and focus more on try to, the leads and marketing, things like that.
Yeah.
So
So basically, you're in the way.
I'm in the way, totally.
Yeah.
Always have been.
And my tough love approach here. And I love you. I know you well.
Yep.
You've been around a while. Um, it's um being in the way is to me, I think just well, let me say this first. You've been in business too long to still be in the way. That's number one,
Yep.
right? Number two, um, I find that a lot of us get in the way um, because we're addicted to control, right? And
Yeah.
we're allergic to systems.
Yes. Yes.
And so for you, just knowing you, the benefit of you hopping on here is I know you pretty well. And you know, you run a great business, but you're probably at, even if you did the 2 point whatever this year, if you get that other job, I don't know if your profit's going to be much different. I mean, it will be a little higher, but percentage wise, it probably won't be any different unless you get out of the way
That's a definitely a fair assessment.
because you're just going to be busier.
Yep.
And I know when I'm in the way, I'm more tired, more angry, more overwhelmed, more stressed, and I make less money than when I get out of the way and I give people ownership of certain things. So that I think
Yeah.
that's probably what we should focus our time on here today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so in theory, we all know that we got to get out of the way, right? We all know that. So what do you feel is the root of you continuing to meddle in things?
Um, I think a lot of times it has to do with I guess some head trash that I have about, looking professional, being professional, and things not being up to the standard that I want them to be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've read tons of books, and, I know that if I can get somebody that can do it 80% of what I can do, that's, you know, a lot better than not getting it done because I'm overwhelmed. But yeah, I think maybe it's just trust. I just don't have enough trust that people will handle it. Um, because when shit goes bad, when I do trust people, it still falls in my lap. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. It always everything falls in our lap
Yeah.
as the owner. Um, so have you ever
Mm.
let go of something and it's gone well?
Yeah, I have. I guess more recent, having my project manager back, I'm not running the field. I'm not out there, and I've really let it go to where, when people call me because they want to go straight to the boss, I'm like, hey, you got to call Dave. I have no idea what you're talking about, and I purposely don't want to get in it, or else I'll try to fix it,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, we got to have the discipline to let the people we hire to do their job. Uh, and,
yeah.
and listen, man, you're not alone here. And anyone listening, I want you to know if this is you, you're not alone. Like this is common. But the thing is this shit that we're talking about getting out of the way and stuff, only works if you commit to letting people take the reins, letting them stub their toe, letting them, you know, um, learn some expensive lessons at times. But
Yep.
so let's go back in the way this, you've heard me say this before, but just to remind us, if you go back to when you were learning how to sell, how to run jobs, how to work on jobs, all that other shit, did you ever make mistakes?
Oh yeah, all the time.
What happened?
I learned from them big time.
Right. That's how we stack wisdom,
Yep.
experience. And so it's no different with our people. And I mean, I'm having a thing, not the job I told you about that you heard part of the phone call before we got on here, but there's a couple things going on our in our company, my painting company here, Simplify Painting, that um we've dropped the ball, like not like with customers, but just internally. We've dropped the ball on some things because the quote system I thought we had in place needs some refinement. And
Mm.
and I was talking to, my project manager yesterday, sitting on the tailgate of the truck, just shooting the breeze for a few minutes. And I just said, hey man, this week's been a shit show. Um, Partially because we got some rain and it fucked our schedule up, right? And then all of us are like jumping in and like trying to manage these other jobs. Because so I got more involved this week in project management because of the rain. But the point is I told him, I said, dude, you're in this position, so I don't have to spend any time in this position. And I didn't, it wasn't like a blame conversation. I just said, and I owned it as the leader. Um, I said, hey, listen, there's some things that we got to get right. And this is a systems issue. This is not a people issue.
Yeah.
We're both good people. We have great intentions. We're working our asses off. We're trying to serve people at the highest level. So let's, we're going to meet on Monday and sit down and, with me and our new sales guy and my PM, and we're going to sit down and just kind of go through what we call like the life cycle of a job to make sure that, hey, after me or Emilio sells the job, this is what happens next. And then this is what happens next. And we're going to document those things and we're going to run with it. And then, every couple of weeks, we're going to sit down and have our meeting, or every couple of weeks in our meeting, we meet every week, but, a couple times a month, we'll just revisit it and just go, okay, that thing that we planned on that Monday a few weeks ago, how's it going? Where are we dropping the ball? And, where are we duplicating each other's efforts and all that shit? Because we want to be efficient. So I'm just saying, I'm saying this to you and everyone else that this shit's never going to go away. Number
Yeah.
one, this is business. Good buddy of mine, Greg Whitstock, who owns Aquascape. He's famous. He's always saying business is nothing more than solving problems. That's all you do every day.
Yeah.
You're just solving problems, whether it's internal, external, whatever. And the other thing we've talked about before, like in Battleground and stuff, is like you're in a pit right now with you being in the way. You're going to work on that. You're going to create a peak. You're going to come out of the pit to the peak, and then
Yeah.
that new peak actually becomes your next pit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because every level that we go to in the business creates a new pit and a peak.
Yeah.
So that's why this is never going to end. And it's not meant to depress any of us. It's just a fact. It's like your kid growing up, right? Every age, every season of their life, every season of our lives, we have new problems and new solutions.
Yeah.
And I loved it back in the day when I had no fucking clue, how my parents ended up putting food on the table. I just knew there was food on the table and it was their problems to deal with, right?
Yeah.
Then I became an adult and I'm like, shit, pot roast doesn't just magically appear on the kitchen table every night. And you gotta fucking make some money and shit, right? So
Yep.
but I think, the first is just committing to that, um, the other thing I would say about being in the way, and maybe this is the case for you, maybe it's not, is a lot of times I find that when I get in the way, I start meddling and stuff, it's rooted in insecurity. Like insecure that like my ego gets in the way, like, oh, I'm not needed anymore. Because we all want to be needed and all that stuff. Do you feel like you said you talked earlier about lack of trust? And then I said, have you given them things to do and they've knocked it out of the park? And you said yes. So what's causing the lack of trust? Let's start with that.
Oof. Um, I guess I would say that, that those times that, yeah, I guess the best way to describe it is you're only as good as your worst employee.
Yeah.
And so, like, say the guy's been doing great, things are going great, and then something happens, and I think it is just head trash. It like pulls me in, like I have to fix this because this is my name on the line. Not, nobody cares about the employees. It's my name, and my name is worth more to me than anything else. My honor, I guess. you know.
Mhm.
So yeah, if it's that trust, so it's like, yeah, they're doing good now, but they're gonna screw up, and I know it, and for some reason it just pulls me back into that head trash of like I have to be the one to fix it, or I'm the only one that can fix it. And you know, I need to get over that because it's not true. That's the only way they're gonna learn.
That's what's keeping you on this plateau,
Yeah.
right? Because your company will never outgrow how you develop as a leader.
Yeah.
So, um, let's talk about belief system here, but what do you believe about your people?
um, I believe, like right now, I've got an amazing core group of people. We weeded out a lot when we downsized and everything. I got great people, but I feel like they, and it's probably my fault, but I believe that I've put them in a position where they are I can't. I think it's called the Peter principle. They're one level over their confidence as far as their responsibility.
Okay.
So, um,
What do you
and maybe
believe?
that's just how I feel about it.
What do you
So,
believe about their intentions?
um, I believe their intentions are good, and they work their ass off for me. And you know, there's no doubt that they're loyal as hell. Um, but in the end, it's I don't know. That's I guess I've never thought about that too much.
So, is it fair to say that you believe that they're really good people that mean well?
Hmm.
Like nobody's out there being malicious or trying to fuck things up or whatever. Like,
No.
okay, yeah. Um, as far as like the team goes, because I know you use a lot of subs as well. You have some in-house and whatever, but like,
Yeah.
um, they all are good quality charactered people, stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you're like 85% of the way there. Because when you have really good people, then it becomes our job. And this is another consequence of you not letting go is you're not able to then invest in them in the ways that you need to bring them up a new level because you're still meddling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
so, you said their responsibilities are a step above their competency. So then what do you think needs to happen?
Training. You know, lots of training, and I think systems and processes that make it. This is how we do it, and that way they have better guidelines. I guess we do have some good systems, and some I haven't gotten down on paper. Haven't done. Yeah.
Yeah. What are you doing for training now?
Um, we there's been a lack of it lately. Um, we've been super busy, so I haven't pulled the guys in a lot for meetings. We haven't had, regular meetings or regular training on certain things. So
Mhm.
just, in that mode, got to get this done, got to get this done. Let's go, So, and I think that's probably hurting us more in the long run.
Yeah, it's training's one of those things that it's easy to say we'll do it later. And the problem is in the interim of waiting for later, we're still drilling holes in our boat, you know? Uh,
Yeah.
so I mean, we could sit here and talk all day about shit like you got to document every process and all, like, all this, and everybody listening fucking knows this shit. So I'm not going to waste time on that, right? We all know that you got to create, a repeatable, teachable, scalable system, right? This is how we fucking collect money. This is how we pre-job a pre-job walkthrough. This is how we do a closeout. Whatever it is. Every one of us knows that. Every one of us also knows that you got to hire the right people, right? You got to get yourself out of the $20 tasks, get yourself into the $1,000 an hour tasks as the leader.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I think would be helpful, and I'll get to it in a minute after I say one more thing. I would really encourage you to sit down and let's just take your PM for instance, and write down the areas that you feel that his ownership is greater than his skill at this point. Okay. So I'll share one with you as an example. My PM, and this is not surprising because I think most of us can relate to this. He's been a painter for 30 years. He knows everything there is to know about the trade. Um, he I don't even know if struggles is not even a probably not even the right word. It's probably too strong of a word, but I'll just use it. He struggles with the paperwork because for the last 30 years he hasn't had to do it. So it's
Yeah.
not that he doesn't have the ability, it's just he's never been put into a situation where he has to pay attention to it now. So he's 2 months into this for me, from coming to the field to being a PM. And as you know, that is such a shift from like I work on the tools all day,
Yeah.
then my job becomes management and thinking and
Yeah.
planning and communicating with clients and all that shit and with the team and looking at the weather and moving the crews around. All these different things is just different. So it doesn't I believe he has the skill. He just hasn't been thrown into the deep end of the pool, number one, like, and been expected to, but number two, and this is on me, I haven't in the last 2 months, it's kind of been gangbusters for us, like you're talking, and it's easy to blow it off. Oh, we'll do
Hmm.
it Friday. Oh, we'll do it next Monday. We'll do it. And that's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
Case where, so that's why, like, I don't care what jobs have to wait, whatever, we're sitting down Monday and we're going to do some training. And so I would just encourage you to, like, whatever positions you feel people are over their heads a little bit, write down like the specific areas, so like it might be um like for my guy JC, we have an app that estimating software app CRM that we use, and we do all internal and external with client communications and all this other stuff. I gave him like a 15-minute training on the fucking thing like 2 months ago, and we haven't looked at it since together. So he
Yeah.
just doesn't know all that. So he's got all this responsibility to communicate. I haven't done my part yet to get him up to speed and sit down and go, hey, let's sit down for a few hours, maybe even call the software company and say, hey, can we do a screen share with you and get my guy coached up on some of the things? Because you obviously teach it better than I will. And
Yeah.
then I can check that box, you know? And so that's where I'd start. But and the second thing, before I get into the other thing, I was going to say was committing to some sort of weekly rally point. And I think instead of calling it a fucking weekly meeting, call it the weekly rally point. Because to me, that language just means like, this is where we get our shit together, right?
Yeah.
Like, if we're getting your, military, you're getting your ass kicked, you go back to the rally point and kind of catch your fucking breath, come up with a new game plan, and then go attack again or whatever. So it's no different in our businesses. And I can just tell you from personal experience, when we started implementing those weekly meetings where we go over the scorecard, which is my next point that I'm going to get to, dude, our profit went up like 10% in 30 days. It was like,
Oh, wow.
we were that much more efficient. And, we got, you probably have a monitor in the office that you could put the schedule and the calendar up and you're all talking through it. Like it could be a 45-minute meeting once a week or whatever it is. Just going to go, hey, what's up with Jessica Smith? JC, have you contacted her? So it's me not doing that. It's me holding them accountable, like, hey, Emilio, did you hit all the cold leads that came in over the weekend? No, not yet. All right, well, today by fucking 10 o'clock, that shit needs to be done. Like, it's me just making sure that I keep the team and you keep the team focused on the shit that matters. Dude, your net profit's going to go up.
Yeah.
Right there. Which kind of leads. So my question is, can you commit to a weekly meeting?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, let's just do it. No more excuses.
Yeah. No, it's already written down, man.
And inside the Battleground portal, there's a example agenda for meetings in there. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Yeah. I would just use it for the different types of meetings that you have and with your PM and whether it's a team meeting or if it's just a once a week meeting with you and your PM to start. I don't give a shit what it is. I don't, not necessarily every employee needs to be there every week.
Right.
You guys have to have that rally point once a week to get on the same page because you're still selling everything, right?
Right now, yes. Yeah.
And so I know me as a sales guy, I'm having so many conversations with people.
Yeah.
And there are things that I, will get an approval on a job, then they'll send me a DM in our app and they'll go, hey, instead of this, we want to do this. And then I go, okay. And then my fucking phone rings and I get distracted and then I don't go put it in the work order like I should have. So that's where this rally point really comes into play where literally I'll open the app and I'll just look through the messages with that client, just make sure we're not missing something.
Yeah.
And it makes us better. So,
yeah.
So I want to dig in. I think this is a real, I want to get back to the topic of you getting out of the way and letting go. You don't have to be, not that you're working in the field, but you don't have to be in the field or meddling in everything to know what's going on in the business if you have a scorecard.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, I think whoever does marketing should have a scorecard. Whoever does sales should have a scorecard. Whoever does project management should have a scorecard based on, maybe you already have one, but a little dashboard and a Google Sheets or whatever that talks about revenue and gross profit and, close rates and job costs. And, did we get a review? Who's responsible for the review? Who's responsible for, how many callbacks do we have this month? What's our capacity? Like if we have capacity for 1,200 production hours a month, every week you as a sales guy, you're updating the team on what you filled out of those 1,200 hours. What are the sources per lead and just any other those special things that you feel each position should track. Because when you can look at the numbers to see the health of your business, then you're not running blind anymore and just making assumptions that things aren't going well. And then you jump in because you think you have to fix something that's not even necessarily broken.
Yeah.
What's the old saying? What gets measured gets improved.
Yep.
And so I think this is like, and I think it took me many years to learn this, many years, probably 10 years more than it should have to really understand that when you have the right people like you do that give a shit, the management tool is the scorecard.
Yeah.
That's the accountability partner. And it's like, hey, this scorecard needs to be filled out at least, no later than 30 minutes before the weekly meeting every week.
Okay.
And that way you guys are just looking at data. I had a client many years ago, her and her husband I coached. Probably 2, 3 times a year, the sky was falling. She thought they were going bankrupt. The phone's not ringing, all this other shit. And I'd say, I go, all right, we'd be on a screen share. I'd go, pull up the scorecard. And she'd pull it up. And sure as shit, regardless of how she felt, they were actually almost always doing better
Yeah.
on the numbers. Like they had twice the leads as they had a year prior, and she felt like the phone wasn't ringing. So again, our feelings are not reliable, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So
Yeah.
and then what you can do with the numbers when you have the scorecard. So let's say you're halfway through a month-long project and your PM reports that you guys have used half of you're halfway through the month of a month-long project, and you've used more than half of the budgeted man hours. Okay. All you got to do is say, which PM's name?
Dave.
Dave. You go, Dave, this job was bid for 2,000 hours. We're already at 1,200 and we're only halfway done. What's your plan to ensure the project gets finished on budget?
Yeah.
Out shortcuts and a great experience and a great review. What's your plan? Oh man, I didn't really realize that till you just pointed it out on the numbers or on the sheet, right? And then you go, okay. So I'll tell you what, it's 2:00 right now. By 5:30 tonight, just text me your plan. Give you a couple hours to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's how you get out of the way.
Yeah.
Or, you said you're doing all the sales now. It sounds like you're going to hire a sales guy, right?
Yeah. That's really where I want to get out of the way for sure.
Yeah. So, your sales guy is, you can track things like UITs, you can track things like past customer calls and warranty calls. You can, obviously close rates, who haven't you heard back yet that needs a follow-up, whatever, whatever those metrics are, those activities that lead to a win, that fucking scorecard, dude, it literally becomes the tool that you use for the job of you getting out of the way. Because it's going to do two things. Number one, it's going to show you where you don't need to be in the way. Right?
Yeah.
Like, man, Dave's kicking ass. He's good. And then
Yeah.
the leadership with Dave becomes, hey man, what do you need from me?
Yep.
And then the other thing it does is it shows you where you do need to get involved and maybe do some more coaching with the team. But you're not taking over. And if you noticed when I gave that example about the man hours and all that other shit, I didn't go, hey, we're over half the man hours for the month. This is what you need to do.
Yeah.
It was me teaching him how to think.
Yeah.
Because now, any of us that are listening to this or talking about this right now, any of us that have this issue with being in the way and not letting go, chances are we're all doing the majority of the thinking.
Yeah.
Which, not to get off on too big of a tangent here, that fucks up our bandwidth mentally. We're not as sharp. We're not as creative. We're crabbier. We're more stressed. We're checked out when we're at home with the family. Like we can never turn it off because we're the ones doing all the fucking thinking. And great example of this is we had a thing a couple weeks ago where an alert came through our app. A customer texted something. It was a project that was going on. We started on a Thursday. We're going to finish on a Tuesday. We took the weekend off. We weren't working on the weekend. And over the weekend, this message came through and I glanced and I could see it was from that customer, and I didn't open the message, but how you can read it a little.
Yeah.
I could tell it was a production issue with something with the color. And And I started to move my thumb to open it. And then I literally went, wait a minute, this is not my job. This is JC's job. And so
Yeah.
I closed my phone. And that was it. And you know what? Later that day, JC saw it and he replied to her.
Nice.
Okay. And so
Yep.
one of the things that has helped me is asking the question, whose problem is this? Now, yes, it's ultimately your problem because it's your fucking name on the building, right? But at the end of, if you're ever going to get to a point in your business where you can have a business that runs without you, you're more of an absentee owner that's just there to coach and mentor and guide your people, and you're not involved in the day to day, you got to become an expert at identifying if something's your problem or somebody else's problem,
Yeah.
you know? Um, but which I'm looking at my notes here. One of the other things I wanted to come back to, I think is interesting, is you were like, I get in the way because it's my name and I've built this thing and I have all this pride in what I do. I'm right. And,
Yep.
um, you, you know, my name means everything to me, this, that, and the other thing. Totally get that. The other thing I get is that your employees, no matter how great they are, my employees in the fight, my employees at Simplify, they will never care as much as I do. And you
Yeah.
know what? That's okay. They're not supposed to. Now, it's great every now and then we get one of those people that like thick as thieves with us. They're like blood brothers, and we all have them in
Yep.
our companies. I believe I have a lot of those people in the fight and Simplify right now. But what I've learned, it's so funny because so many of the things that you're trying to work on right now, wanting to fix, I'm literally having these conversations with the team at Simplify Painting right now. And so, the last time we got together a week and a half ago or so, everybody like subs, everybody, we had like just a big team meeting. Whenever we're together, and actually probably I needed to do better at this, but probably about 75% of the time that I'm on a job site talking to a sub or whoever, that not like an official meeting, but about 75% of the time I make it a point to remind them of what we're building and why what they do is important. Like our job as a leader is to keep the vision in front of them. And it's your job, man, to, I mean, let me ask you this. What would happen if you had a team meeting and you said, guys, I've failed you? And they're going to be like, what'd you do? And you're going to be like, I'm hindering our growth because I'm the bottleneck of this thing because I care so much about this. And I made the assumption that you guys don't care as much as I do, you know? And I just want to apologize. I know you guys care and you're looking to me to lead. And in order for me to let go a little bit, I just need to share a little bit about my heart around this business. Like this is what leadership is, man. Like it's
Yeah.
being a little vulnerable and just going, guys, I wake up every day and I go to bed every night terrified something's going to fuck our name up. That's why I get in the way. And I know as long as I keep getting in the way, we're going to be stuck. We're going to have more chaos than we need to have. You're not going to grow to the levels that you have the potential to grow to. You're not going to make the money you want to make and achieve the dream. See, what's in it for them, right? You got to
Right.
that way. And so I would just, and it's not like you did this on purpose. It's just you care so much. And I just think sometimes we just got to share that with them. Like, guys, I care so much about what we're building here that I know I get in the way, and I get in the way because I've not done a good job of communicating my vision with you consistently, keeping it front of mind. And then I've also dropped the ball on training and leveling up our skills. And I'm making a commitment to you guys that I'm going to do those two things. And when you feel I'm not, call me out on it. Because like, it's like the old saying, like, I'd rather win than be right. I don't need to be right. I just want us to win.
Right.
And so if you see something that I'm getting in the way on and it's hurting you and your performance and your growth, let me know and let's talk about it. But my job is to keep our eyes focused on where we're going and support you guys in your roles. And I know when I do that, we're going to explode. So do you know why I came at it that way? Like where you sit your guys down and you basically say, hey, I kind of dropped the ball here with you guys. Why do we do that?
Well, that way they start thinking, worst case scenario, what's going on or whatever, and then, kind of softens the blow a little.
Mhm. It shows you're in touch too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just yesterday I was doing the fight way call and I'm like, guys, sit down with your team and just go, how have I let you down?
Yeah.
You
I
were running
remember.
this business. How would you do our operations differently?
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a key point for all of us is I only know what I know. And if you know what you know. If I came to work for you, or if you came to work for me in any role, it'd be stupid of me not to tap into your 25 years of experience,
Yep.
and it's no different with our people. Because maybe they saw something in another company, the way they communicated or did something that was good. Or maybe,
Yeah.
hey, can I share? We did this in the last company I was at. It was a shit show, and here's why. So if you're going to do this, make sure you don't do this, you know? And that's that group think. And when you get that group think and everyone feels valued and they feel they can have a no bullshit zone with you and not walk on eggshells, dude, they're going to grow more loyal. They're going to be more focused, more consistent. They're going to be coming to you with solutions, and you're not going to have to do all the thinking. And it's going to be mind blowing how much bandwidth you have freed up because you then know they care because you set the table for them to care. Um, so I'm trying not to get like I know we're talking a little bit of the mindset of this stuff, but I want to give something tactical like that scorecard
Hmm.
because the scorecard, that weekly leadership team meeting with the KPIs and issues list, goals, whatever, when every key person owns a number, every leader owns a number, that's when accountability happens. And that's where you build a culture where people they own their own outcomes for what they're responsible for and then they take pride in that,
Yeah.
right? And there's
Yeah.
there's some shit talking in the meetings like, hey, sales guy, when are you going to start hitting your fucking numbers, man? I'm killing it on these jobs. I'm saving your ass on the production side. Like that's all. It's like teammates, right? It's fun stuff,
Yeah.
you know. Because the ultimate goal of this thing, and I know there's like things with family and legacy and all this other shit, right? But the purpose of a business is to make money,
Oh, yeah.
not to just be a revenue machine.
I don't need to practice.
No,
I need the money.
you and I have both built really big revenue machines that didn't make that much money.
Yeah.
That's no fucking fun. But again, when you're getting everybody, again, I'm just taking everything that I'm saying today is in the context of you getting out of the day to day.
Hmm.
That won't happen if you're not making sure the vision is front and center. You guys are efficient. You incentivize profit, not just revenue. You're educating your team, your key people on what the fucking P&L means. You're able to build some cash reserves. And really, I stole this from somebody, but like, dude, I can't remember who I heard it from. But when you build a profit machine, not just a revenue machine, and you're operating by the scorecard and you got all these things in place, you're actually making the business pay you to stay out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds right.
Right. And the business should be your best performing asset, not the most exhausting fucking thing happening in your life.
Yeah.
And we've already touched on this, but I think this is where it's just that shift in your mindset around, um, I'm not a contractor. I'm not a business owner. I'm a coach. I'm a visionary. I'm a mentor.
Mm.
You know, fucking Nick Saban wasn't on the field winning national championships. He was on the sidelines fucking supporting them and coaching and, you know, encouraging and putting a boot in their ass when necessary and shit like that. But they're not out there playing the game,
Yeah.
you know? And then again, I think the last thing here, and then I'll just kind of open it up to anything you want to dig into more, is, you know, plan at least, probably a quarterly strategic planning session. You know, you have those sheets that we have in the member site where you could just go, okay, what went well? These, I mean, we're in the beginning of the second quarter right now, so this would be a great time to do it. Just, hey, what went well in the first quarter? Bring your leaders together. What was a shit show? You know, um, talk about the production goals and the sales goals and things that you're spending your time on, and where everyone knows, the left hand knows what the right hand's doing.
Mhm.
So everybody feels like, man, we're all rowing in the same direction here around this common goal. I think you do that, you've set an amazing foundation to where I would say by the end of 2025, if not just a year from now, early 2026, you're probably half out of the business. You really
That,
are. It's not that far away.
yeah.
This is the hard, right now is the hard work you're going to do to set yourself up for that. You're sharpening the axe for 6 hours when you have 8 hours to chop the tree down, and then you have a sharper axe,
Yeah.
instead of swinging a dull axe for 8 hours.
Yep.
So here's another one for you. Think of yourself as the blade sharpener. Your job is to sharpen the team.
Mhm. Awesome.
So what did we not dig into that might be bothering you?
Um, well, I guess some of the struggles that we've gone through that's really overlapped this last year is we again got hit financially pretty bad, and I took out a bunch of debt to just keep stuff rolling. And so crawling out of that debt has been the hard part, just with the overhead and things that we've had. And now obviously this year it's getting way better. But I mean there was some times where it was pretty sketchy, and but I think that's where maybe some of that trying to control everything is, the money is the lifeblood of the company, and when you're bleeding from so many places,
Yeah.
you've got, shuffling here, there, rob Peter to pay Paul to make sure things keep moving. And I think that has helped put me in that, very, I got to control everything. Um, so I guess right now my biggest thing is I'm trying to we'll be out of debt by the end of this year, like completely, which would be awesome.
Yeah.
Um, but the road there is still, we're still going to have a lot of things, a lot of hurdles to get over. And I think the sales part of it, I think I've gotten to the point where I don't want to be the sales guy
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
I've done it for years. But I'm over it. That's not who I want to be. Um, and so right now I'm trying to figure out whether I'm hiring somebody or moving people around in my business to take care of that. So my question would be, would it be smarter to bring somebody in or move people around in my business that
How
way and
much
keep overhead
much
low?
better are we talking?
Um, so right now, out of my monthly overhead, there's 37,000 and some change goes to different loans and that like all the trucks, everything about $59,000 a month is all debt related.
So the like the trucks, you already had those before the other shit, right?
Right. Yeah, but I've
So
got some
what's the
loans and
total of the
things.
other shit?
Right now, I think my balance is right around 200 grand.
Okay.
I've paid off for roughly around that, little over 200,000, but we've got about 200 to go.
And what is your average job size?
Um, in the commercial side, our average job size is about 300,000,
Okay.
and the residential is about 50,000.
And what percentage of your revenue is residential right now?
Right now, it's probably 20%, 25%.
So you said 300 and then 50.
Yeah. I mean, I have projects, that's average.
So is it safe to say, just to be conservative, we say your average job size is 125 grand just to play it safe?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me just plug something in here. I'm looking at, and your average gross profit on those 42,
About 42. Yeah.
42. So that means equals this times this, and then equals this time divided by this. Okay, so here's what's interesting. Um, let me just share my screen with you. You see it?
Yep.
All right. So if I have 200 grand in debt, average job size, gross profit of 52 grand a job. Okay.
Mhm.
That means to pay off the 200, you got to do 4 more jobs this year. So
Yeah.
literally, so that could be your number one goal. And remember, dude, every minute that you're meddling, you're not focused on this.
Yeah.
Okay. And if Dave's knocking it out of the park in production and you're just there to support him, and you could be freed up to just go sell, build relationships, call past clients, all the other shit, upsell, whatever it might be. I mean, dude, it's what are we in the 4th month of the year right now? You got 7.5 months to sell an additional 4 projects between you and a new sales guy.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll tell you right now, I get this because you touched on it a minute ago. You're like, just the burden of all the cash flow and all this other shit. Like, I have to ask you, are you paying yourself right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I make sure.
Because I've done that in the past where I made sure everybody was getting paid but me.
Yeah.
And it did nothing but actually hurt our performance because 24/7 I was stressed about money because I took like a 50% pay cut to keep the business alive or something.
Oh, I've been there.
No, you've been in the game long enough to have done.
I've learned that one for sure.
And what's funny is every time I've been in that cycle, through the past several decades, and I catch myself, I go, fuck this. I got to get my own oxygen. And
Yeah.
literally the month I fucking go, I'm just taking the fucking money, we do better as a company
Yeah.
because I'm getting my oxygen. So when you look at this, I think as far as hiring a salesperson, I mean, do you have enough? What I don't want to see you do is hire the salesperson and you jump totally out of sales right now.
Yeah. And that's kind of why I've been like, I was actually thinking of moving things around and like taking Dave. I've actually got him started in Battleground and he's starting to, do
Hmm.
work on Shinfu and stuff. And he's actually, I think he's going to be natural, way more natural than I have been.
Yeah.
Um, and that kind of prompted me like, well, maybe we move him more into that. And I've got a couple of guys that can be raised up into project management, and then do more of a sub model than having in-house and the subs.
Yeah. Or you tell Dave if you think he's the guy, that's another conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like if you think he's the guy, say, hey, I want to do a test in 2025 and I want to give you some leads to handle.
Yeah.
In addition to him running the jobs, because I don't want you to have to, like, if he's doing a good job running the projects right now, you don't want to pop that
Oh
balloon,
yeah.
you
Oh,
know?
for sure.
So
Yeah,
like,
it's not something to jump into for
so
sure.
what would he sell? Residential or commercial?
I'd probably have him more in the residential. But he could do either. I mean, both of us come from
Yeah.
the commercial world, so
Because like what you could do with him, and I know it all depends on lead flow and shit, but let me just take a calculator. Like if you said, dude, you got a $500,000 sales goal this year because your jobs are bigger, right?
uh-huh.
So even if it's $100,000 average, it's only five fucking projects he's got to sell in
Yeah.
addition to what you are already going to do. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that 500 grand at a 42% is 210,000 bucks. Obviously, you'd be paying his commission and stuff, so it wouldn't be that much that you're keeping. But just by having him, instead of going out and hiring another sales guy right now, I'd probably try it in house with him because you trust him. He knows your systems. He knows how you do things. He knows how long shit takes.
Yeah.
He's probably good with people because he's PMing. So it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, so I think maybe a hybrid spot for him with the goal and just tell him like, hey, let's get you to a point here where, you know, you're helping us generate another 500,000 a year. And then, that puts another 40, 50, 60 grand in his pocket. And then the rest literally goes to pay the debt off. And then everything you sell goes to the operations of your overhead and net profit. I,
Yeah.
that's just how I would think about it. Like, I know it's, same bank account and shit, but just that whole, because right now you're on track for, especially if you get that other fucking big job,
Yeah.
you know, but let's pretend you don't get that big job. If you do 1.8 on your own and he does another five, you're at 2.3 right there.
Yeah.
And what's your overhead every month?
Our total overhead was
Yeah, without the debt, without that 200 grand, I mean. Or do you have it worked in there? If you have it worked in there, that's
well,
fine.
I have our total overhead.
What's
So
that?
monthly we're at $111,274.90. So
We'll call it 112 grand. How's that?
yeah,
All right. So
sure.
112 grand, 112,000 times 12. So you're 1.3 in overhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's because of the debt. And
Right.
like I said, if I get paid off by the end of this year, that's 59 and some change a month that goes away. So,
So here's what's interesting. At the 1.3 and change a year with that debt in there, producing at an average of a 42, you got to do 3.2 just to break even on that. Not
yeah.
1.8, not 2.3.
Yeah. My goal was 3 this year.
Right.
So,
Yeah. And if you divide that by the $175,000 average, you got to do 18 to 20 jobs this year.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, you know this because we've talked enough. You've been on enough of this shit through the years where it's just reverse engineering the money.
Yeah.
You know, now are these loans or whatever you took, are they like super high interest?
Yeah, no, so I had some MCA loans that will be paid. Like I've got one that's going to be paid off in June, one in August, no, one in July, one in August, and then those are gone. And that's like I said, 37,000 a month.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, because the faster you could pay this 200 grand of bullshit off
oh
and the
yeah,
that comes with it, you know, the more you can breathe. So I think I'm going to go a little crazy here for you.
go for it.
And I'm doing this because I want to create a little bit of good pressure to help you get the fuck out of the way of your team and let them do their shit, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
You don't have to do this. You probably won't because you know your balls probably aren't big enough, and that's okay.
Uh,
Um,
I see what you're trying to do there.
um, why not shoot for four?
Yeah.
Because if you're shooting for four and you're holding yourself accountable to that on that fucking scorecard, you're not going to have time to medal.
Yeah.
You're only going to have time to support them and train them, you know? And yes, we all
Yeah.
know there's going to be the occasional hiccup because we all have them. We all have that client, that job, that issue, whatever that's going to require you. But ultimately, it's remember, we get what we focus on. If you
Yep.
keep putting your and again, I'm going back to the cash flow suffocation that you're feeling right now. If all you're focused on is that, you're just going to get more of that.
Yep.
But if you're focusing on something, and I don't, you know what? Worst case scenario, you hit 3.2, 3.6, right? I think if you're shooting for three, you'll probably hit it. Why not shoot for four? And if you fall short a little, you're at 3.5.
Yeah.
And you got another couple hundred grand, and that shit goes away, and you have some profit at the end of the year. Because, like, what'd you say? Like, right now, it's like 60 grand a month for all the debt.
Roughly. Yeah.
Yeah. In theory, you have 60 grand worth of net profit right now every month.
Yeah. Yep. I
So,
know, and it drives me freaking crazy, man.
and then I would consider here. I know we've gone quite a while here today. Um, kind of start landing the plane. I can talk to you all day, man. I love hanging with you.
Nah, likewise.
The maybe we could talk offline about this, about a plan for it. But I think how could we get your team rallied around paying the fucking debt off to where with everyone's rowing in the right direction, everyone's focused on profit, knowing that the faster we get through this, the faster we all get a reward. You know,
Yeah.
like my PM, he's the majority of his compensation is on the gross profit of the job. There's different levels he gets based on our percentages. Dude,
Yeah.
it's funny. He's walking around job sites picking up a tube of caulk that's in the trash, and he's like, "Hey, hey, hey! There's still a few more squeezes in this thing." Like he's fucking focused, man.
Yeah.
You know, my uncle used to work for a guy when he was starting in painting that if you wanted a rag, you had to go ask the boss for a rag. He'd go to the trunk of his car where they were locked up. He'd take a rag out, he'd cut it into fours and give you a quarter of it.
Oh wow. Damn. The
But my point here isn't to make like everyone in the company stressed about it. And that's where the communication is key. Like, guys, we're okay. We just can't invest in some of the other things that we want to do. You know, like I'm just making shit up. Like I want to get some more trucks for you guys. I want to add a better health plan. I want to start a 401k or whatever the fuck it might be. I want to be able to give some performance bonuses out when we knock it out of the park on projects. And
yeah.
until debt is gone, I can't do those things. So we're basically running at just a break even right now. And you know, let's fucking bang this out. Let's just pay attention to every little thing, every little detail. Like I think this would be such a cool story on the back end of this with you and your team when you guys pay that fucking debt off and then you take them all out for fucking wings and you hand them all a $5,000 check and go, thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Like, think about just everyone high fiving each other. This is the shit you got to be focused on where you're going, not on this. Oh my God, we have no cash. We have no cash. And it's
Yeah.
easy to do, but this is what makes you an FW, man. This is, you're not like everyone else. You're not gonna fucking keep focusing on the shit that doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but or that stresses you
Yeah.
out. You're gonna focus on where we're going.
Yeah.
And tell them, guys, in order for us to do this, I gotta be freed up.
Yeah.
I need to sell a job, do the handoff, answer any questions in our weekly meeting, and I need to take the leash off and go close deals.
Yeah.
You know, and when I can do that, shit changes around here in a big way.
Yep.
But
So I'm going to throw a curveball at you because we just haven't gotten to that point. Um, so my goal has been the absentee owner, um, but I am actually moving in October of this year, and so I'm real focused on getting it to that point. Um, Last year, I don't know if you heard me talk about it or whatever, but my wife and my kids were actually going to school out of state, and I was the only one here in Arizona, and I'd fly up there to see them. But my wife's going to go back to school and everything, so I decided I'm going to move up there and fly down here twice a month because I can do a lot from up there, and I think that's where the wanting me to get out of sales because I won't be here.
yeah,
I can do a lot over the phone, but I won't be here to do job walks. I won't be able to, and um, so yeah, I I guess I'm speeding it up because we're gonna do this based off of when my wife's going to school and the lease is up on the house that we're in. That's what's gonna happen. So what would you say for any advice for that?
I think everything's the same with the except. I mean, Dave can still start selling. You need to be focused on selling and training, right? Not meddling. And
Yeah.
then, with that knowledge now, you're probably going to need another full-time salesperson that's getting trained later this year,
Okay.
you know. Um, I mean, I'm thinking of somebody right now that I coach who he's got some health issues that keep him from it's a really unique situation. He sells a couple million a year and he never goes to job sites because he's got some health issues. So his PM right-hand guy goes out, meets people for the job walkthrough. They gather all the info and they bring it back to him and he works up the bid and calls the client and sells the job over the phone. And he just tells
Mm.
them I can't, I have some issues that I can't be out on a job site. He has some
Yeah.
shit, and and that system works really well for him and he's killing it. So I would also say don't think you couldn't sell from another location just because you can't do the job walk.
Yeah, and I
Dave
figured I
can do
could
the
do
job
most
walk.
of it, but
Dave could do the job walk. Yeah.
yeah.
But no, and I think that's good. So this just I think more than anything, it's not much of a curveball. If anything, it's an exclamation point on the things that we talked about. Like you gotta be urgent about implementing this shit.
Yeah.
You got a clock that's running now, man.
Yeah, I do.
You have we're in the fourth month, you got 6 months.
Yep.
You got 6 months to have this thing humming. So, and that's where again, does the team know this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's on board. Yeah.
So then it's like, guys, you know, we got to dial in our systems here, our roles, our scorecards. Because I ain't going to be here. I'm committed to growing the company. I'm committed to raising you guys up, getting you all paid well,
Yeah.
consistently, all that other shit, nothing's changed, but I'm just not going to be here. So we got to dial some things in, and my attention has to be on some of these other things. Otherwise, we're going to have a total shit show in the fall,
Yeah.
you know?
So would you, knowing that we kind of have three different divisions of the company, um, I know in the past when I've talked to like Anthony and different ones, trying to niche down, we did that a little bit last year and kind of got out of the commercial and focused on residential, and that was another reason our revenue just like
Yeah.
crashed because my commercial stuff, I can do one job that is $1 million,
Yeah.
so we went back into the commercial world a little heavier, but the residential is like, it takes time to get paid on commercial, whereas the residential is kind of that cash flow, keeps money flowing through. But would you suggest, you know, narrowing the focus if I'm not going to be here, or do you think if we've got good systems and processes that maybe we're okay to keep going that direction?
You know me, I'm a one trick pony, right? Like I'm
Uh-huh.
pretty much about, but I think in your case with your debt and the nut you
Yeah.
got to crack I think that's a decision you make at the end of this year. I think
Okay.
long because again, the residential, the cash flow is so much better.
Oh yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
have cash, you're screwed.
Yep.
And yeah, I would stay the course with that for probably
Okay.
25, and then I'd revisit it. Um,
Okay.
and
Yeah. I told the guys, that right now we're construction horse. We'll do anything for money to get out of debt, and then we'll, figure things out later. But
yeah, but again, I think this comes back to that weekly meeting. It comes back to the quarterly strategic planning meeting with your team, where you're doing the look back, you're doing the look ahead based on the data, you're making decisions. So this whole thing might change based on the data you have.
yeah,
This couple quarters, you might decide that the residential isn't worth it.
yeah,
You know, because to be fair to our guys in the field, it's tough going from residential to commercial. Like it's just a
yeah,
different vibe on job sites and shit. Oh, it's a commercial
yeah,
job. You don't have to worry about people. You got subfloors in or something. Like if we're painting, like, we're in your Mrs. Smith's house, we got 12 hours of covering hardwood floors, you know?
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's just a different animal. So I
yeah,
would let the data, I literally would let the data each quarter make that choice for you guys. And then just checking in with the team and like, guys, I care about your opinion on this. Like, is this making your life a living hell? Because
yeah,
if they're like, if they're dreading doing the residential shit because they view it as like it's a nuisance, it's a pain in the ass, it's just different, whatever, then they're not as fired up and energetic about it. That's going to show on the P&L as well.
yeah,
So I just think having conversations with your leaders, just going, what do I think we got to keep it for the time being, but what are your thoughts on this? Now, if you could turn around and bring in another, what, 3, 4, 500 grand a year to replace the residential, and you can get some sort of working line of credit based on contracts you have that can help fund those jobs while you're waiting for money. If you have a good relationship with a bank, you know, you know, I guess the question is focusing on residential right now costing you sales on commercial?
no,
Okay, then stay the course
okay,
for now. I think it's just it's one of those we'll let the data decide, not our emotions. And listen,
yeah,
and again, you get through this debt and this big monthly nut of debt you got to come up with. You might wake up next year and just go, I'm done with residential right now.
yeah,
Um, because that debt's paid off. I don't have the pressure that I had before, and I just want to focus on the commercial side of things.
yeah,
It's our wheelhouse. So
okay.
Well, dude, I can't wait to see you kick some ass here, man. I know it's just keep your eyes focused on what you want, not on the bullshit you're dealing with. Yeah, you got to deal with it, but just know it's temporary.
Yeah,
No, you earlier just going, yeah, we have a plan. This shit will be paid off by the end of the year. We're good. Like, all right, well, let's see if we can accelerate it.
yeah.
Pay it off before you move.
That's most of that
Yeah.
will be done before I move. I think it's the trucks that won't be, but everything else will for sure.
Yeah. Well, if somebody's listening to this and they're like, sounds like a cool cat, I want to come work for him or hire you or whatever, how do they reach you?
They can go to our website, totalprecisionbuilders.com. Look us up on Facebook, Instagram, Total Precision Builders.
Well, we'll drop those links in the show notes and we'll keep this conversation going offline, man. But appreciate you digging in today. Let me ask you before we get out of here, what's your biggest takeaway from today?
Oh, shoot. I guess one, I need to get, the weekly meetings, and then I guess work towards having my guys pay off that debt faster. Instead of me focusing on it, let's let the numbers dictate how we're going to get this done.
Yeah. Takes all the emotion out of it, man. It's just the math tells us what you need to focus on.
Yeah.
Um, I think you do all that shit you just said. I think you're gonna be in a totally different place even in 30 days.
Yeah.
So, well, dude, I appreciate you, man, and keep slamming away.
Will do.
All right. Guys, rate the show, give it a rating, give it a review, share it with somebody who needs to hear it. Appreciate you sticking around. I know this was a long one today, but Taylor's a good buddy of mine, and we had to get to the root of some of these things. So, Taylor, appreciate you, man. You guys have a great day, and you guys rock. We got to roll. You're out. We're out. Somebody's out. I don't know who's out. I'm out.